Hey everyone and welcome, it's me Martin once again recording this video for the second time because I forgot to record the voice of course, and today I want to discuss about the color work, about how I do color grading on studio fashion images or studio beauty images, because actually this image has very simple color palette, so it could be applied for many other things. It was part of my course, these images, so if you're interested in full course, link is in the description, and we will jump straight away to the color work that I did. The image that you see in front of you right now is already after color processing. The starting image you can see was looking like this. It was the raw in Capture One. I did my raw conversion in Capture One. So after this, I get more into colors like this in raw conversion. This was the basic color that I achieved in just the raw processing. And you see the floor is cleaner and the model is cleaner itself because it's already a stamp. There's no cleaning process. The image was too huge. This is the image actually from the medium format camera, phase 1. Huge pleasure to work with this. You can see a lot of things working with this. So I want to jump straight away to the color processing. So starting from the beginning, this was raw image. And what I do in a Capture One to get into this. You see, when I look at this image, I already see one color which dominates this image, and it's this navy trousers. And the rest is kind of gray, except the skin colors, which are always orangey. So we have these two colors working perfectly together, the perfect composition, the trousers and the skin tones. But the background is a little gray, which if you look deep, you can see just a little bit of the purple tones in there. So my mission in raw processing was to get them more into blue, the trousers, to make them more clear, I would say, and to get some color out of the background to work with the rest of the image. I didn't want this image to be gray. So that was the main mission. I changed the hue a little bit, as you can see, of the trousers, so make them more vivid. And also I changed the hue of the background from this purple and bring a lot of saturation. It can be clearly said I bring saturation on the background. So changing the hue and bringing up the saturation result in what you can see right now. And then the first steps was color correction. So like I have this group with the T, and it's pick for the tones before and after. So what you can see, the working tones, more vivid blue colors, stronger background, and yellow tones or orange tones on the highlights. How I achieve that? I split the masks for shadows, and then inverted mask for the highlights, of course, and then also very strict for the just highlights. So let's start from the shadows. What I did in the shadows was going with the blue color and cyan color. As you can see, that's why it become more vivid. And of course, the group is blending mode is in the color, so I'm not affecting the contrasts at all. And then for highlights, I wanted to put just a little bit of the orange color inside the highlight, so you can see actually the difference. Maybe I will zoom in. Before and after, I applied this yellow tones into the highlights, and then also I applied the photo filter with orange. So I feel this color with more orangey instead of yellow, so it works actually better with the background color. So that was the first step of the color grading. And then we have color corrections. So this will be very small difference here. What I want to show you in this group, the tones, I create the mask at the end for whole group. And when we see how the mask, I covered the hair, because you need to pay attention when you affect mostly the shadows. The hair keep a lot of shadows, so you don't want to affect with the color, in this case color blue, so you don't want to make the model hair blue, so that's why we had to mask it. So thanks to this, the hair keep natural color. And then corrections, it will be very quick. There was like mask for the highlights and general collections. I was working with selective color just to get the right balance between the colors. So for example, in the general, I was working a little bit with blue just to get tones I like more. If I choose the highlights over here, I was probably working with yellows just to take down maybe some of these yellow colors and go more into orangey, because at first I got too much yellow. And as you can see, after corrections, let me zoom this, before and after. It's very small change, but if you look clearly, you can see the image is less yellow after these corrections on the highlights, and like more red, more orangey. And then a few more fixes again with this time with saturation, hair and feet. It was still a little bit blue, so I took down some blue saturation from the hair and especially from the feet because it was covered in this blue color. Let's see, before and after, before and I got more saturation for the yellow just to make this color more natural. And this was pretty much the color work in Photoshop, these three groups. And at the end, I actually wasn't fully happy with the colors. I didn't think it's the best of this image. And very often final steps I do in Camera Raw by creating this stamp. I'm not going to proceed into Camera Raw because that would be uncensored version of the image, and I don't want to risk just to not make this video be taken down because I believe it's valuable. So I'm just going to tell you what I did in this Camera Raw filter at the end. A little bit of work for the highlights and shadows, and then I'm working with hue, saturation, luminance panel just to adjust the hue the way I want. So in this case I got with the hue from blue more into cyans, and maybe just a little bit work with the saturation, which gave me this final result. That was before and after. Also, I have this other image from the set with the same color tones. I had to go, of course, in the same direction, and here we have all process. So maybe I'm going to show you again what I did. It was a little bit different color work, less fixes, but of course the tones we achieved, the hue on the background I believe is exactly the same. I'm always trying to check that. So that was the raw image. So what was the problem with the raw? Was a little bit overexposed. So you can see the power of raw images, especially from such cameras like this Phase 1 camera. I had to take down the highlights to make it look clear, to bring back some details. And obviously there's a lot of details. This is, look at the size of the camera, how detailed it is. First step, I cleaned up on empty layers, and then I did dodge and burn to just smooth this out a little bit. Can see. And then I jump into contrasts. Of course, this image always look a little flat, so contrast improved. And then what I did here, some of the saturation fix on the hair, And actually the tones were very small. You can see I have only 2 layers for my tones, color balance, working with shadows, and the other mask is for highlights. So once again, I just went with the blue and cyan for shadows with this mask, and the yellow colors for the highlights. And that was it. That was just these 2 layers, and the final step I was working more with the camera raw, shadows, highlights, then hue, saturation, luminance panel, working with hue, also not only on the blue but also on the skin tones, and the saturation. And this was before and final result. So this is my process. That was my process on these certain images. Once again, if you want to see this explaining step by step, you can get a full course. Link is in the description. And I'm going to talk to you once again with the new Photoshop or not Photoshop tutorial. See you later.